So it seems that there are a number of people that are still really mad about the criticism surrounding the Niki Ashton Jeremy Corbyn event, which apparently is still happening on March 20th. Now, I wanted to unpack what that issue was because there's been a lot of conflation online surrounding criticism of that event, surrounding criticism of using the term anti-Semitism to silence pro-Palestinian voices, the issues regarding Jeremy Corbyn, and what that really all has to do with Canadian politics and Canada. Now, to start, let's just recap on what happened to Jeremy Corbyn. He was the former leader of the Labour Party in the UK, and he was accused of, at the very least, turning a blind eye to anti-Semitism in that party. It really took up a lot of oxygen from that party's messaging, and it really resulted in the worst defeat that they had electorally since 1935. So they really got trashed in the election, and a lot of people said it was because they had to deal with this issue for such a long time. Now, again, that obviously splashed onto Niki Ashton because she's now having an event with Jeremy Corbyn, who was accused of, again, either promoting anti-Semitism or, again, at the very least, turning a blind eye to anti-Semitism. And so a lot of people were critical, saying that, why are you bringing this person to Canada? What do you have to talk about? They're a disgraced former leader and really should not be partaking in this event. But the entire thing really boils down to, and again, the issue with Jeremy Corbyn boils down to opposition to what is called the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Now, this was one of the things that started that train for the Labour Party, and so I think that people really need to understand what that is and why it could have an effect on Canada. Now, the IHRA is an organization called the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, and they came up with a working definition of anti-Semitism because they felt it was better to have at the very least some agreed upon definition so that you could quantify or tackle the problem in a productive manner. Now, the confusion here, and it even comes from people who support the adoption of this definition, which Canada has adopted. Now, the confusion is that this has somehow something to do with Israel, that it will silence pro-Palestinian voices, and that's been a lot of the criticism of why it should not be adopted. But I want to read you the definition, and we'll see where Israel is mentioned. And it says here, and I quote, "Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, towards Jewish community institutions and religious facilities." So as you can see, there's not a single mention of Israel. Israel's not at all mentioned in this definition. It's nowhere to be seen. It really is talking about anti-Semitism against Jews. It is that swastika that's painted on the synagogue, or the vandalism of a Jewish person's car, or even a non-Jewish person's car, because that is what anti-Semitism is about. It is about Jews. Now, they also put in this definition, they put together a guide. Now, again, the countries that have adopted this definition, as Canada has, are not using the guide that is attached, which does mention Israel. They're simply using the definition, and this is a non-legally binding definition in Canada. Now, the guide, for example, has some examples of what anti-Semitism might look like that do reference Israel. Now, they say, for example, accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. This is a guide that could help you to say that, that's probably anti-Semitic. Again, it depends on what you say, but that one is probably anti-Semitic. It could be, for example, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to the Nazis, or it could be holding Jews collectively as responsible for the accusations or alleged crimes of the State of Israel. So these type of things, again, this is a guide to help you determine whether or not this is anti-Semitism. And this is the issue. The guide is not the definition, and that is where people, I think, are getting confused. Again, even supporters of the definition, I think, fail to understand that this guide is just illustrative examples. It is not the actual definition. So, okay, what does this matter? We went through this whole definition of anti-Semitism. What does this matter? What does it have to do with Canada, with Canadians, with the NDP, with Niki Ashton? Well, again, the Labour Party suffered their worst electoral defeat since 1935 because the issue took up so much oxygen. And I think the concern, and people who are either NDP supporters or, again, Niki Ashton herself or Jagmeet Singh, or really anyone involved in or with the NDP in any way, should really take to heart the fact that this affected the Labour's ability to message, because they constantly had to deal with this accusation that they were, again, at the very least, if not outright promoting, but turning a blind eye to anti-Semitism. And this had nothing to do at heart with Israel, because it started with anti-Semitism against Jews. And I think that, again, is the concern. So if you are an NDP supporter, I think you should really read the IHRA definition for yourself. Don't take my word for it. You can look it up. Look at some of these examples. Try and figure out where they may or may not be anti-Semitic. Try and think about maybe your own beliefs and unpack that and try and, reconcile that with the definition and really take that to heart. Now, again, this is something that is still going on. It's still an unfolding story, and I'll be happy to report or keep you guys updated on what is happening. But I think it was important to, at the very least, unpack that for a couple of minutes. What was the main criticism surrounding the Niki Ashton Jeremy Corbyn event, and why I think that criticism went a little off the rails, and what exactly the main issue at the heart of it is. Now, again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching as usual. My name is Sam Eskenasi for True North. Have yourselves a great day and great evening. Thanks.